The pen hovered 1 inch above the page, one signature away from a dead man walking. Brianna Fisher, polished crystal at dawn inside the Kang mansion. 33 years old, black, beautiful, invisible behind a starched white apron. A finance degree folded into her pocket like a secret. 8 years of head housemaid work taught her one rule: keep your head down, stay alive. Then she stepped onto the side veranda. Evelyn Kang was on the phone, ivory silk, pearls, a voice smooth as poured wine. She was planning her husband's death. 40 seconds of audio. Brianna pressed record before her hands stopped shaking. Her husband, Kang Dae-hyun, the quiet one, head of the Kang Group empire, 6 feet of tailored black suit, and a Korean dragon tattooed up the left side of his neck. The kind of man who never raised his voice because he never had to. She tried to warn the head of security. He laughed. She tried the butler. He dismissed her. She left a note. Evelyn intercepted it. Now the family was gathering in the salon. Lawyers, documents, pens, a maid, a boss, a blonde wife, a signature, and what Brianna decided to do in the next 60 seconds. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. Brianna polished the 3rd crystal glass before the sun cleared the east wing of the mansion. The chandelier above the dining table held 48 pieces, and she knew each one by the angle of its cut. She worked from the outside in. That was Reginald's rule. Reginald's rules were the architecture of her mornings. Behind her, a younger maid dropped a silver spoon on the marble. The sound was small. Reginald's voice was not. That spoon costs more than your week. The girl was 19. Her name was Tessa. She had been at the Kang estate for 6 days. Pick it up, polish it. Twice. Brianna kept her eyes on the crystal. She did not turn. Turning would invite Reginald to extend the lesson. She had learned that her 2nd month here, and it had taken her another 4 months to stop flinching every time he passed behind her. Tessa picked up the spoon. Her hands were shaking. Brianna felt the tremor across the room the way a swimmer feels the pull of a current. She set the 3rd glass down. She picked up the 4th. The finance law paperback sat folded against her hip, inside the apron pocket, behind the notebook and the slim silver pen. The spine was cracked from a year of riding her hip through 12-hour shifts. She had read chapter 9 4 times. She would read it again tonight, on the bus, going home to a studio she could afford because she did not eat lunch. 33 years old, a finance degree from Hunter. Head housemaid in a Korean Mafia household. The math of her life did not balance, and she had stopped trying to make it balance 2 years ago, when she stopped applying to firms that returned her resume with form letters and the wrong first name. Invisibility was the wage. Invisibility was the survival. Brianna. Reginald's voice had a different register for her. Cooler, almost civil. She had become useful enough to be addressed by name. The veranda service at 9. Mrs. Kang Soo-jin is taking tea with Mrs. Evelyn. Espresso for Mr. Dae-hyun in the study at 8:40. Yes, sir. The new girl will assist you on the veranda. She will not speak. Yes, sir. He turned. His pocket watch chain caught the chandelier light. Brianna waited until his footsteps reached the corridor before she let her shoulders drop. Tessa was still by the spoon. Come here, Brianna said. Quietly. The girl came. Hold the cloth this way. Index finger inside the bowl. You polish the back first. Always the back. Why the back? Because that's what guests see when you carry it. Tessa nodded the way someone nods when they are not yet sure they will survive a place. Brianna had nodded that way too, once. She handed her the cloth and watched her work the silver until the smear was gone. Then she walked her through the next spoon, and the next, and on the 4th Tessa's hands had stopped shaking. By 8:30, the dining room was set. By 8:40, Brianna was at the study door with a small porcelain cup on a black lacquer tray. She knocked once. "Come." Kang Dae-hyun sat behind a desk the size of a small boat. The black ink dragon on the left side of his neck rose just above the collar of his white shirt. He did not look up from the document in front of him. He had not looked up at her in the 8 months she had been bringing him espresso. She set the cup at the corner of the desk where he always reached for it without breaking concentration. She turned to leave. "The cup yesterday was cold." She stopped. "It will not be cold today, sir." He turned a page. She left. In the corridor, she breathed out through her teeth. She had not realized he noticed temperature. She had not realized he noticed her at all. At 9, the side veranda. Mrs. Kang Soo-jin had not yet come down. Evelyn was already there, alone, in ivory silk, pacing the stone tiles with a phone pressed to her ear. Brianna set the silver tea service on the wrought iron table. She moved to the far end to arrange the linen napkins. The pillar between them was thick. Evelyn did not see her. Evelyn never saw her. "He signs Thursday." A pause. "No, Victor. Thursday morning. The whole structure transfers to me on death." Daniel Chen drafted the clause on page 9. He doesn't know what's on page 9. Brianna's hand stopped on a napkin. "The driver, then. Make it the driver. Tuesday on the bridge. 2 days is enough." Evelyn laughed once, soft and short. "Of course it has to look like an accident. I'm not stupid." Brianna slid her hand into her apron pocket. The slim silver pen, the notebook. Beneath the notebook, her phone, the one Reginald did not know she carried, because she had bought a flat black case to match the apron lining. Her thumb found the voice memo icon by feel. 40 seconds, Evelyn said. 40 seconds and the rest of my life. Yes. Yes. I'll call you tonight. Brianna held the phone against the linen, recording through the fabric. She did not move. She did not breathe through her mouth. She counted Evelyn's heels on the stone. 3 steps to the rail, 3 steps back, and she counted her own pulse in her ear. The call ended. Evelyn slid the phone into the cashmere shawl. She turned toward the table. Brianna was already lifting a napkin, her face composed, her hand inside the pocket pressing stop. "You can go," Evelyn said. "Yes, ma'am." She walked the length of the veranda with the empty tray held flat. She did not look back. She did not slow. Her shoes made no sound on the stone. In her apron pocket, 40 seconds of Evelyn's voice waited like a loaded gun she did not yet know how to fire. Walter Briggs was checking the perimeter cameras when Brianna stepped into the security office. He didn't look up. He never looked up for staff. "Mr. Briggs, I need a minute. Make it 30 seconds. She closed the door behind her. That made him look up. The scar above his right eyebrow lifted half an inch. "Mrs. Kang is planning to have Mr. Kang killed before the signing tomorrow. I heard her on the veranda this morning." Walter set his coffee down. He studied her face the way a man studies a coin he suspects is fake. Then he laughed. Not loud. A single short bark from the chest. "Brianna, how long you been with us?" 6 years. 6 years. "And in 6 years, how many times have you walked into this office?" "Never. Never." He nodded. "Go polish something." "I recorded it." The laugh stopped. Then it came back, smaller. "You recorded Mrs. Kang. 40 seconds. A man named Victor. Wire transfers. A window of time during the signing." Walter leaned back in his chair. He folded his thick hands across his stomach. The earpiece coiled behind his right ear blinked a slow red. "You know who pays my salary, Brianna? Mr. Kang. Mrs. Kang signs the household checks, including security. Including yours." He smiled without teeth. "I'll mention it to her myself. That a maid is recording her on the veranda. I'm sure she'll want to thank you in person." The blood left her face in a slow draw. She kept her shoulders square. She left without another word. In the corridor she stopped. 3 breaths. Then she walked. Reginald Holt was inventorying the silver in the butler's pantry. 2 rows of forks, each laid on velvet like surgical instruments. He counted under his breath when she entered, and he did not stop counting. Mr. Holt. 22. It's urgent. 23. 24. He set down the fork. His pale blue eyes found her through the rimless glasses. Speak. She spoke. She kept it to 4 sentences. The veranda, the phone, the name, the signing. Reginald removed his glasses. He polished them with the white pocket square. He replaced them. Brianna, there is a hierarchy in this house. Do you know where you sit on it? Mr. Holt. You sit beneath me. I sit beneath Mrs. Kang. Mrs. Kang sits beside Mr. Kang. When you bring me a story about Mrs. Kang, you ask me to invert the hierarchy of a house I have served for 19 years. He picked up the next fork. 25. Sir, a man will die. 26. He did not look up again. Close the door on your way out. She walked the long corridor to the east wing. Her hand was steady on the brass door handle of her own room. The steadiness frightened her more than a tremor would have. She sat on the bed. She took the notebook from her apron pocket, the slim silver pen. She wrote 4 lines, folded the page in thirds, sealed it inside an unmarked envelope from the desk drawer. The signing was scheduled for 11 the next morning. Daniel Chen always arrived an hour early to set up the salon. She would slide the envelope under his attaché case before he sat down. That was the plan. It was a good plan for 90 minutes. At 9:15 that night, Evelyn Kang was walking the upstairs gallery with a glass of white wine when she stopped beside a console table. She set the glass down. She lifted the cream cashmere shawl off the chair and folded it across her arm. Then she opened the small lacquer box on the table where Reginald collected the day's incoming household correspondence for sorting. The envelope was on top, unmarked, sealed with kitchen wax. Evelyn smiled. She slid 1 manicured nail under the seal. She read it twice. She walked it down the hall, into the kitchen, and dropped it into the gas flame of the cooktop. She watched it curl black. She turned the burner off. She picked up her glass of wine from the gallery on the way back. Brianna was at the kitchen sink rinsing a stack of crystal coupes when she heard the heels on the tile. She did not turn. She knew the sound of those heels the way a soldier knows incoming fire. You write a beautiful note. The water kept running. Brianna shut it off. She set the coupe upside down on the drying mat. She turned. Evelyn stood 3 feet away, the cashmere shawl over one shoulder, the pearl strands catching the under-cabinet light. The smile was small and patient. Daniel Chen is a busy man. I'd hate for him to be troubled by household gossip. It isn't gossip, Mrs. Kang. No? Evelyn tilted her head. Then it's something worse. It's a maid with a recording device on a private veranda. Do you know what the state of New York calls that? I know what your husband would call it. Something flickered in the pale green eyes. Brianna watched it land and pass. My husband. Evelyn took 1 step closer. My husband signs what I put in front of him. My husband listens to his mother on Sundays, and his lawyer on Mondays, and his wife on every other day of the week. My husband does not listen to the woman who polishes his crystal. Then I'll make him listen. Evelyn laughed. It was a small, bright sound, almost girlish. Oh, sweetheart, you think this is a story about a brave maid. It isn't. It's a story about a wife who has been planning for 2 years what you discovered this morning. Do you understand the difference? Yes. The answer was too fast. Evelyn's smile thinned. By tomorrow night, you will be gone from this house. By the end of the week, you will be unhireable in this city. Your finance degree will not save you. Your recording will not save you. She leaned in. The wine on her breath was sweet. Walk away. No. Evelyn studied her for a long second. Then she stepped back. She lifted her glass. She walked out of the kitchen the way she had walked in. Unhurried, unbothered. Brianna stood at the sink. Her hands began to shake only after the heels were gone from the tile. She gripped the porcelain edge until the shake stopped. The signing was in 13 hours. She had 1 shot left. She would have to take it in front of everyone. Brianna pressed record on the phone in her apron pocket at 4 in the morning and didn't stop pressing until her thumb went numb. She had already played the file twice in the dark. The voices were clear. Evelyn. Victor. 40 seconds of a plan to put a bullet through the head of the man who paid her wages. It was enough. It had to be enough. She walked the back stairs down to the kitchen with the phone hidden against her ribs. Reginald was already at the counter, polishing silver he had polished the night before. He looked up. "You're early. I couldn't sleep." Discomfort is not an excuse to come down before 5. She didn't answer. She picked up a tray and began setting espresso cups. Her hands did not shake. She had trained them not to. At 5:30, Walter Briggs walked through the kitchen for his coffee. Brianna intercepted him at the threshold. "Mr. Briggs, 1 minute." He stopped. He didn't sit. The earpiece behind his right ear glowed faintly. "I have a recording," she said. "Mrs. Kang, on the veranda, last night." "Of what?" "Of her arranging Mr. Kang's murder." Walter's face did not move. He looked at her for 3 seconds. Then he laughed once. Low, the kind of laugh that wasn't a laugh. "Brianna, listen to it." "I'm not listening to anything. You don't bring this to me. You bring me dust on the banister. You bring me a broken lock. You don't bring me Mrs. Kang. It's real. Then it's not yours to carry. Stay in your hallway." He took the coffee from her tray and walked out. She stood with the empty space where he had been. The clock above the range read 5:41. She tried Reginald next. She caught him in the silver pantry counting forks. She did not mention the recording. She said only that she needed to speak to Mr. Kang directly before the signing. Just 5 minutes. Before 10. Reginald set down a fork. He aligned it with the others. Maids do not request audiences. It's about the signing. The signing is a legal matter. You polish the table the documents will rest on. That is your part in it. Reginald. "Don't say my first name." She left the pantry. She left him counting. She wrote the note in pencil, on a page torn from the back of her finance textbook. 3 lines. "Don't sign. Audio exists. Ask for me." She folded it twice, and slipped it into the inner pocket of Mr. Kang's morning coat, where it hung in the hallway closet at 6:20. She knew his routine. He reached into that pocket at 6:45 for his platinum cufflinks. At 6:43, Evelyn came down the main stairs in a cream silk robe. She walked straight to the hallway closet. She lifted the coat from the hanger. She put her hand into the inner pocket. She took out the note. She read it without expression. Then she looked up and across the foyer and met Brianna's eyes, exactly as if she had known where Brianna was standing before she turned her head. Brianna had been frozen by the dining room arch with a duster in her hand. Evelyn smiled the way she smiled at florists. She folded the note. She put it inside the sleeve of her own robe. She hung the coat back on the hanger. She straightened the collar. "Good morning, Brianna." "Good morning, ma'am. You will be serving in the salon at 10. I want you on the espresso tray, not Junia. You. Are we understood?" "Yes, ma'am." Evelyn climbed the stairs without looking back. Brianna walked into the linen room and closed the door behind her and slid down the wall to the floor and held her face in both hands for exactly 30 seconds. Then she stood up. She straightened her apron. She went back to work. By 8, she had been moved off the second-floor rotation. By 9, her phone was missing from the small drawer in the staff lockers, where the staff were required to leave them during shift. The lock had not been broken. The lock had been opened with the master key, which Reginald carried, which Evelyn could borrow without a question. Brianna checked the drawer twice. The phone with the recording was gone. She stood very still in front of the empty drawer. The signing was in 53 minutes. Walter would not listen. Reginald would not pass a message. The note was in Evelyn's sleeve. The audio was in Evelyn's hand. She had her body. She had her voice. She had what was left of her name. In the staff bathroom, she washed her face with cold water and dried it on a clean cloth. She looked at herself in the spotted mirror. She tightened the bun at the nape of her neck. She straightened the white collar. She slid the slim silver pen and the small notebook deeper into the apron pocket so they would not catch the light. She had backed the recording up. At 3 in the morning, before she ever left her room, she had emailed the audio file to herself from the phone, and from her email to a second email, and from there to a printed transcript she had folded twice and tucked under the insole of her left polished black shoe. She walked on it now. She had been walking on it since 4. At 9:58 she lifted the silver espresso tray from the kitchen counter. 4 cups, saucers aligned, a small porcelain pot, cream, sugar in a cut crystal bowl. She balanced the tray on her left hand the way she had been taught. She walked down the long hall toward the salon. The double doors were open. Inside, she could see the long mahogany table. She could see Mrs. Kang Soo-jin seated at one end with her hands folded over her jade ring. She could see Marjorie Vance at the side with her leather portfolio open. She could see Daniel Chen across from Marjorie with his rectangular glasses catching the lamp. She could see Evelyn standing behind the chair at the head of the table with one pale hand resting on the leather backrest. And she could see Kang Dae-hyun seated in that chair, in his black 3-piece suit, lifting the heavy fountain pen from its rest. The document lay open in front of him. His thumb settled against the cap. Brianna crossed the threshold with the tray. "Don't sign that." The words landed before anyone saw who spoke them. Dae-hyun's pen stopped a centimeter above the paper. The pen didn't move down. It didn't move up. It hovered. Brianna set the espresso tray on the sideboard. She didn't rush. She didn't apologize. Her hand went into the apron pocket and came out with the small recorder, the one Walter had laughed at, the one Reginald had dismissed. Evelyn rose from her chair. "Get her out." Walter took a single step. Dae-hyun lifted one finger. Walter froze. "Speak." That was all he said. One word. The room arranged itself around it. Brianna looked at Daniel Chen first. Page 9, Clause 4.3. The pre-death asset movement language. Read it before he signs. Marjorie Vance closed her portfolio with a sharp click. "This is a domestic employee interrupting a private legal matter. I'll be filing. Read page 9, Daniel." It was Dae-hyun's voice. Same level. Lower than before. Daniel was already turning pages. His finger ran down the left margin. He stopped. He read it twice. The second reading was slower than the first. "Boss." Daniel didn't look up. "There's a clause here, embedded in the trust restructuring. It permits asset transfer to the surviving spouse's designated holding vehicle within 72 hours of incapacitation. Outside probate. Outside the Kang Group board." Mrs. Kang Soo-jin set her teacup down. The porcelain made one small sound. She looked at Evelyn. Evelyn was looking at the door. "Play it," Dae-hyun said. Brianna pressed the button. The recording came through small and tinny and absolutely clear. Evelyn's voice in the veranda. The cadence of someone who had said it before. "Victor." The signing. The car. 40 seconds. The recorder clicked off on its own. No one spoke for the length of a breath. Then Evelyn laughed. It was a thin laugh and it died in her throat. "That's edited." "It isn't," Brianna said. "You can't even know what you were hearing. You don't have the training to." "I have a finance degree from Wharton. I worked 4 years at Goldman before this house. I read Clause 4.3 the first time I saw it on his desk 3 nights ago. I know what I heard." The room shifted. It shifted in the small ways. Walter took half a step back from Brianna and a half step toward Evelyn. Reginald's hand left the side table. Marjorie Vance's eyes moved to the door Walter had been standing in front of. Dae-hyun set the pen down. He set it down in the exact center of the document, parallel to the top edge, like a man closing a book he never intended to open. His hand closed over the unsigned pages and drew them across the table toward himself. "Daniel, boss, cancel the meeting. Hold Mrs. Vance in the East Room. 2 of Walter's men on the door. She doesn't make a call." Marjorie opened her mouth. Walter's hand was already on her elbow. She closed her mouth. "And my wife?" Dae-hyun didn't turn his head. He looked at the document under his palm. Evelyn stays. Evelyn's hand went to the pearls at her throat. The diamond eternity band caught the light. Dae-hyun, whatever she told you, she didn't tell me anything. You told me. He looked at her then. The same eyes, the same flat surface. The dragon at his collar didn't move, and somehow, the room felt it move. Who is Victor? Evelyn said nothing. Sujin. Mrs. Kang's chin rose by a degree. Take Evelyn to the morning room. Sit with her. She doesn't use a phone. She doesn't speak to staff. She waits. Yes. Mrs. Kang stood. She crossed to her daughter-in-law and took her arm at the elbow. Gently, the way one leads a guest. Evelyn did not resist. The shawl slipped from her shoulder and Mrs. Kang caught it without looking and folded it once over her own arm. They left through the side door. The door closed. Dae-hyun turned to Brianna. She kept her hands at her sides. She kept her chin level. She did not lower her eyes. How long have you known? 3 days. Why didn't you come to me? I tried Walter. I tried Reginald. I left a note in the study. Mrs. Kang Evelyn intercepted it. She paused. I am the housemaid. I made the assessment the housemaid could make. Walter's jaw moved. He looked at the floor. Dae-hyun looked at the recorder still in her palm. May I? She placed it in his hand. His fingers closed around it, the way they had closed around the document. Without pressure, without theater, as though he were storing something he would use later. Daniel, I want every transfer authorized under Evelyn's signature in the last 90 days. I want the holding vehicle named in Clause 4.3, identified by morning. I want Victor's full name on my desk before lunch. Yes, boss. Walter, the perimeter. No one comes in, no one goes out. The staff stays in their quarters until I say, yes. He turned back to Brianna. He looked at her for a long moment. Reginald, sir, Miss Fisher will not return to the maid's quarters tonight. Have the south guest suite prepared. Have her things moved. Reginald blinked once. Yes, sir. And Reginald, sir, you will address her as Miss Fisher from this hour forward. Yes, sir. Dae-hyun lifted the document. He folded it once, lengthwise, with the care of a man folding a flag. He slid it into the inside pocket of his jacket. The pen he left on the table. He passed Brianna on his way to the door. He did not touch her. He did not stop. He spoke without turning his head, and his voice was lower than before, and steadier. Thank you. The door closed behind him. Brianna stood alone in the salon with the unmoved chairs and the cold espresso and the small empty space on the table where the document had been. Her hand was steady. Her breath was not. Somewhere in the East Wing, a phone began to ring and was not answered. If you want to watch all the stories without any ads and also get access to bonus scenes, extended epilogues, and exclusive spicy chapters, head over to our Patreon. Scan the QR code on the screen. The link is in the description or in the pinned comment. See you there. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever held a truth in your hands that no one in power wanted to hear and stayed silent because a uniform made you invisible? Have you ever watched someone you served choose the wrong person to trust and known the only thing standing between them and ruin was you? Would you have spoken before that pen touched the page? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about invisibility, courage, and dignity, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.